All right, so you're thinking about starting an iGaming business. You probably know that picking the right license is, well, everything. It's one of the first and most important decisions you'll make. So today, we're going to take a really close look at one of the heavy hitters, especially for startups, the Kahnawake gaming license. Let's get into it.
And hey, that's not just my opinion. That quote comes from Casino Meister, a huge industry watchdog that's been around forever, since '98. So these guys have seen it all. When they say Kahnawake is a tightly run ship, that tells you everything you need to know about the kind of respect this license has. It's more than just a piece of paper. It's a seal of approval.
So here's our game plan. We're going to look at who these guys are, why they're such a big deal, and then get into the nitty-gritty, how to actually get the license, what it's going to cost you, and of course, the fine print. And at the end, we'll try to answer that big question. Is it the right fit for you? Now, to really get why Kahnawake is so valued today, you've got to understand where they came from. It's actually a pretty incredible story of a regulator going from what some called a shambles to a true gold standard in the industry. So first off, who are we talking about? The Kahnawake Gaming Commission, or KGC for short. They're the official regulator for the Mohawk territory of Kahnawake, which is a First Nations reserve in Canada. And get this, they were established way back in 1999. I mean, they were one of the very first places in the world to start licensing online gaming. But it wasn't always smooth sailing. In the early 2000s, let's be honest, their reputation was not great. They were seen as kind of ineffective. But then, in 2007, a huge industry scandal acted as a massive wake-up call. They completely cleaned house, brought in seasoned pros, and put a laser focus on player protection. And wow, did that ever pay off? Today, they are genuinely one of the most trusted names out there. Okay, so they've got this hard-earned reputation. But what does that actually mean for you, for a startup trying to make its mark? Let's break down the real-world advantages of going with Kahnawake. You're looking at this amazing combination of prestige and pure practicality. That reputation, it means players trust your site from day one. The fees are cost-effective, way more affordable than places like Malta, which is a lifesaver for a new business. The process is clear, you get access to a huge global market, and they're even ready for crypto. But honestly, the thing that really stands out is their commitment to fairness. They have a full-time dispute officer. That's almost unheard of, and it's a massive confidence booster for your players. And then there's this number, 0, as in 0% corporate tax on your gaming revenue. Let that sink in for a second. For a startup, that is an absolute game changer. It means you can pour so much more of your early profits back into growing the business, marketing, making your product better. It's huge. So the reputation is great, and that 0% tax rate is pretty tempting, right? Okay, let's get down to brass tacks. How do you actually get your hands on a Kahnawake license? The process is tough, for sure, but it's also very clear. It really breaks down into these 5 main steps. You set up your company, get all your paperwork together, business plans, proof you have the funds, all that stuff, and then you submit the application. The KGC does a deep dive into your business. Now, if you pass, you don't get the full license just yet. First, you get a 6-month interim license. Think of it like a probation period. You prove you can run a clean operation, and then you get the full 5-year green light. And you're probably wondering, how long does that initial review take? Well, once you've submitted a complete application, and I mean complete, you can usually expect to hear back from them within about 4 to 8 weeks. That's a pretty good balance, right? They're thorough, but they don't leave you hanging forever. And this is that probation period I mentioned. For 6 months, you're on this interim license. During that time, the KGC is watching you. They're making sure you're sticking to the rules and living up to the standards they expect. It's a really smart way for them to protect their, and by extension, your reputation. All right, time for the money talk. What is this actually going to cost? One of the best things about Kahnawake is how transparent their fees are. There aren't really any nasty surprises hiding in the fine print. Okay, so the big number you see right away is that $40,000 initial fee. Now, that might sound like a lot, but here's what's really important. That's not just to apply. That 40 grand covers the entire due diligence process and your first year's annual license fee. After that first year, it drops to $20,000 a year. Then you've got some smaller fees for your key people, the managers and directors running the show. Look, no license is the perfect solution for absolutely everyone, and it's so important to go into this with your eyes wide open. You have to know the rules of the road. So let's take a look at the major restrictions that come with a Kahnawake license. Number one, and this is a big one, the US market is completely 100% off limits. That can be a deal breaker for some businesses, so you need to know that up front. You also can't operate in countries that are on the FATF blacklist. And while we said it's cost effective, it's not the absolute cheapest or fastest license you can get. A place like Curacao, for instance, is usually cheaper and quicker, but you're trading that for the top tier reputation that Kahnawake gives you. So we've covered the history, the pros, the step-by-step process, the costs, and the big restrictions. Now it's time to put it all together and ask the million-dollar question. Is this the right license for your iGaming startup? Let's just lay it all out side by side. In the pro column, you've got a world-class reputation, that unbeatable 0% corporate tax, and a fair, trustworthy environment for your players. In the con column, the US market is a no-go, and yeah, it's a bit more expensive and takes a little longer than some of the rubber stamp options out there. It's really a classic trade-off: speed and low cost versus quality and reputation. So at the end of the day, it all comes down to what you're trying to build. If your goal is to create a trusted, long-term brand and you can build your business without the US market, then Kanawake's unique blend of prestige, fair cost, and solid regulation is, well, it's pretty hard to beat. It's a question you've got to answer for yourself. Thanks so much for tuning in.